You're welcome. How's it going?
It's going.
It's going? Okay, good. Good morning, Symphony. How are you guys doing with quarantine? Have you gotten out at all?
Good morning.
Good morning. Think I'm going stir crazy. The first couple weeks, I stayed inside. Now I go out for walks. How are
Yeah,
you guys doing?
everyone's tired of staying inside at this point.
I know it's not normal.
No, I'm ready for my old life.
I know. Yeah, and I don't even know who to believe anymore. The news is so different than the medical experts, and they get me all
Yeah.
confused.
And they're not updating us as much as they used to.
Yeah, it's all confusing. So how's it going with all this work I'm throwing at you? Are you able to keep up?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a printer for me trying to print out all this stuff and then trying to
It's
get paper and more ink.
oh, so yeah, trying to do it without a printer's hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
have you gotten any supplies yet?
Um, I already had the pencils and the notebook and the half of the stuff, but I
Yeah.
still have to get the paint
Okay.
and the colors.
Have any of you gotten your Micron pens yet?
No.
No? Okay. So we'll keep it to pencil for now. Okay, so we're still waiting on a few people to get here. I think after the weekend, it's hard to wake up.
Yeah. It was so difficult for me to wake up today. I don't know why.
It's just hard, period.
Yeah.
But I was thinking before this, I would get up even earlier to be
Me
able
too.
to drive. And now I guess you just get used to what you do every day.
Yeah.
So have you guys studied for the quiz?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
see.
Um, so it's all new to me. I put the quiz on Canvas, and it's different than an academic class because we're looking at pictures, not text, to answer a question. So I put the pictures up in the quiz. We're going to do the quiz today at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And then you go, and I labeled every picture A, B, C, D. And then I gave every name a 1 through 11. And then you just match the A with the right number in the quiz. My thing is, because I've never done this on Canvas, is can you look at the picture while you take the quiz, or do you have to look at the picture, write it all down, and then go into the questions and then enter it into the Canvas? I think that's how you're going to have to do that quiz, because you won't be able to see the picture while you're taking the quiz, which will be too hard to remember. So you're going to have to look at the picture, write it down on a piece of paper, then go into questions and transfer it to Canvas so you can answer the questions. But it's the first time, so we'll see how it goes. It shouldn't be that hard, but every week we'll do a little vocabulary quiz. So hopefully it'll make sense. Hi, Juan. Good morning. So we have 7 people here. That's good. Okay. So we're just waiting for a few more before I start. So we're going to work on flats today. Most of you don't have ink yet, so we'll just be penciling them, and eventually we'll ink them in when we get our supplies. So last week we started with a mood board to get inspirational ideas. And we came up with some ideas. So this collection has 2 pairs of pants, a top, a long tunic, zip-up hoodie, and a short jacket. So it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5-piece collection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-piece collection. So that's going to be our first project. Usually I did swimwear first, but I'm going to do this quickie collection in pencil only. And to help you pick a brand that you like and what you would design for them for the future season. So it shouldn't be daunting. It should be fun because you're picking a brand that you like. So it should be enjoyable. Have you all picked the brand that you like?
Yeah,
Oh, good. Who did you pick?
I wanted to do Moscato, Misciano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What did you pick? Anybody pick their brand yet?
I
I have to unmute you. You can mute yourself. Leslie, what did you pick?
haven't picked it.
Oh, you haven't picked it yet? Okay. Anybody else? Picked a brand yet? Latoya, have you picked a brand yet? Oh, you already told me. Hi, Juan, have you picked a brand yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. So you guys, so then you've got to work on that brand board so that you can start with designing. So we have 8 people, got a little more than half the class. That's a good start. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So 7 o'clock. I'm taking roll in case you wonder what I'm scribbling. Okay. Okay. Okay, so our goal today is to get our brand picked so that we can put together a collection. And I'm going to take this collection that we did on Friday and create flat sketches for it. So one of the problems we had that someone discussed was they didn't have a printer to print out the template. Do all of you have the template printed out? So here's my template.
The one with the multiple arms, like the
Yes, this one.
square.
Yeah, this one. Do you have it printed
did.
out?
No, I was gonna print it out today.
Okay, so we're going to use this today to draw the flats. What I could do is step by step show you how to make it yourself so you don't have to go out and print it. That was one of the problems. So I'll do that first and then we'll start creating flats. So it's very similar to the 9-head fashion figure in many ways, except the waist is wider and the legs are shorter. So the ankle starts at the 8 instead of the 9, and the waist. Those are the only 2 differences. So I'm going to make this flat, and then you can follow along so you don't have to go get a printer and print out your crookie. So I'm going to come over here to the sketchboard. I'm going to put speaker view, so you all have to make it bigger. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna, I taped it down, I'm gonna move that. Okay. So start with an access line. And this particular one is 1 1/8 inches. So I'm going to go 1 1/8 inches all the way down. I'm going to measure it with a piece of paper so you can follow along. Just get a piece of white paper, draw an access line and 1 inch and 1/8. So it's a little bit bigger than I've made in the past. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do, and you can get away with only drawing one side. So my very first line, the turtleneck is a little bit above it. Well, it's probably easier just to draw the whole thing. Okay. So I know that this is my one head and I made it 1.5 inches. So I know this is my halfway mark. So I need to get this 1.5. So, wait a minute, did I measure this wrong? No, it's 1 inch and 1/8. Okay. I did it wrong. Okay, so here's my 1.5, here's my 1, here's my 1/2. Okay, so my shoulders are going to be this wide. So I've come down at an angle, and here's going to be my shoulders. The angle in slightly, and my waist is going to be a little bit more than the one, about 1 1/8. So it's not like the fashion figure, it's a real proportion of a real waist, not a fantasy waist. I'll come down to the 4. And I'm going to, so that was my 2, that was my 1, my 3, my 4. Am I going too fast? I'll slow down and you can draw along. We have one extra guest that came. So who came in? Let's see. Oh, I have Haiwan twice. Did you enter on your phone and your computer?
Oh yeah, I just logged into my.
You just have to turn the sound off on your phone or you'll get feedback. Does anybody want to record that I have to allow it? I should be recording. I forgot.
Can I record, please?
Who said that? Symphony?
Yes.
Okay. I will allow it. Anyone else want to record? Okay. And I'm recording too. So have you all drawn that or am I going way too fast? I'm a little bit more on one side than the other. Can you see that? Don't get so crooked. Has everybody drawn that much so far? We're going too fast. So we're making a flat template. Since I'm creating this, I'm putting my own little lines on it. Okay, so this was my 2 and my 1, and my HPS is going to go right there. So that's my HPS. How are you doing? Am I going too fast? So am I going too fast? Should I start the leg? We have a new guest who just arrived. Denise. Good morning, Denise. So Denise, we are drawing a croquis template for a flat. A lot of students don't have a printer. If you already printed out the template, can you use that? Yes. If you already printed it out, you don't have to create it. But for those of you that have not printed it out, we're making it. So one of the things I like to do is put right down the center. I like to have a little dotted line because it helps me when I'm creating pants to get them equal on both sides. So I'm just going to make a little line down the center of the leg since I'm making this myself. So I decided to make my arm out a little bit more. So I put it here. You really only have to draw 1/2 because you fold it over anyway. Can everybody see that? Okay. So are we ready to start creating or are you still working on it? Is everybody finished?
Online, I only seen the men's version. Was there two or just the men's template for the flat?
Oh, online? I didn't put it on there?
Only saw the men's version, not that one that you have at the Active
Oh,
System.
it's possible I haven't put it on there. That means you
Yeah.
you can't print it out. So you just have the men's.
Yeah.
Okay, I can scan it and put it on there. Didn't realize I hadn't done that. Wonder if I could do it now. I think I could do it now. Let's see. That means everybody's got to draw it. On. Okay, I will scan it and get it on there, but for now, I'll start creating one. Okay, so I'm gonna look at I'm gonna start with the first one, the little top. I'm gonna create the flat for that. I'm gonna use my template. And I'm going to look at my design. Yeah, I'm going to look at my design. Okay, so I'm going to only draw 1/2. So it has this collar. Sorry, I'm going to turn that sound off.
Miss Rad, is that tracing paper or regular paper?
It's regular bond paper. I can see through it.
Oh, okay.
Why am I doing that? No, excuse me. Too early in the morning. I need to be using tracing paper. Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
good. You pay attention. Help the teacher. Yeah, don't know what I'm doing. Haven't had anything to wake up yet. Yeah, so you should be using tracing paper. That was my mistake. And if it helps, tape it down, which it does help. So I'm going to get some tape and tape it down so it doesn't slip and slide. First, I'm going to start off with my template. And where did the tape go? Let's start it out with, there it is. Okay, so my template is taped down, can't move around, makes it much easier. I have my concept sketch that I'm trying to make a flat out of. Okay, I put the tracing paper on top. Okay. Now I'm going to sketch 1/2. So it looks pretty low. And then the collar comes to here. In my concept sketch, I made it a point. Okay, so I'm making it a point. And then this collar. And then I have to decide, how's it going to attach? Is it going to come off? Is it going to sew into a shoulder seam? I have to think of the construction. So I'm going to just sew it into a construction seam, and it has pleats in it. So that's a little complicated. It has a raglan sleeve. I go past the armpit because I'm going to make this out of a lightweight muslin fabric, so it doesn't stretch. So I don't want to be right in the armpit. I want to be a little lower. And then my arm is going to come down. It's wide. And I'm going to give it a little bit of lift on the sides and a raw edge. So I will make a raw edge.
You want us to make what you're doing?
You can actually do your own if you have a concept sketch, or you can follow me, or you just can watch so that you understand how to make a flat, because you're going to be making a flat for each one of your designs. Okay, I think I will leave the tucks off of this collar in my flat, just so it's not confusing where the construction is, because this flat is made for a sample maker so they can make a pattern. Okay, so my arm ended slightly below the armpit, and then my silhouette, and it's going to come about here. So it needs to be completely straight right here, and then it slightly lifts over here. So I put a little raw edge on it too. Okay, so now I can see my collar, and I can see my sleeve, my bodice, and the back of the neck's going to be a little higher. So to represent the reverse side of the fabric, you can either make fine diagonal lines, or you use your marker when you're on bond paper and you color it in with a gray marker. So right now, I just have 1/2 drawn. And that's all I need for my first one. Yeah. And before I untape it, it's really important, I always draw the access line and the HPS line. So of all the skills that you learn in this class, this is the #1 skill that a designer will be doing the most, is creating flats. So a sample maker and a pattern maker can sew the garment and can make the pattern. Okay, so now I have, you can see my 1/2. And I've decided this collar is going to sew into the seams, and it's a wide enough collar that she could flip it over her head. So I don't need any zippers, I don't need any buttons. So pretty simple to make. It's ready to roll. Okay, so now I will take and fold it over and create the back view. So again, I duplicate the HPS line and the access line. And now I'm going to draw the back of the neck and the silhouette shape. It's also going to be a raglan on the other side. I'm using the mechanical pencil 05 HB. Okay, so now I have to think about, how do I want that collar to look in the back? Do I want it to repeat in the back, or do I want it to just be a plain back? So it's a design decision. I'm going to make it come back. So now my back will look like that. So there's my front and there's my back. And then I will be putting these on a presentation board. So on another piece of bond paper, I put the design. So usually when I'm going to make a presentation board, I'm going to take my ruler. So this was my 2-inch ruler, and I'm going to make a grid, and I'm going to make it very light. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can line up 5 different flats on this presentation board, or this is just bond paper. But this will be used in my portfolio to show the collection. So I'm just making a grid, and this will eventually be erased. So I'm not making it very dark. It's very light. Now, eventually, you're going to learn how to do Adobe Illustrator, and you're going to learn how to draw flats in Adobe Illustrator. Some of you may already know. Some of you maybe not. Okay, so I've made a grid on my bond paper. And now I'm going to do the front first. So I'm going to line up the HPS and the access line, and I'm going to tape it down. Tape my tracing paper down. Does this look hard? I heard a sigh. No? Okay, so now I'm ready to trace it. So I can use a ruler. I usually put 2 destination points down, and then I use the ruler. Sometimes the ruler, it has a little curve to it, so maybe I will use an S curve or a French curve. But most of this I can pretty much some of it, when it's too small, I find it easier to draw it by hand. That curve. There's lots of little curves on this French curve. I could have fit one in there. Sometimes I find it easier to do it by hand. Depends how steady your hand is. Okay. Takes a while to get the hang of it. It can be time consuming, but the more you do, the faster you get. Okay, so there's my first half. Now I'm going to flip it over. Oops, tore my little paper. So I'll flip it over. This ensures symmetry. So while we were talking, anyone show up? No? Boy, we got a lot of sleepy heads today. Okay, so we're going to connect the other side. Trying to be careful, trying to be symmetrical, trying to make sure that pattern piece looks the same as that pattern piece. This is going to be the reverse side of the fabric. So now I'm looking at my illustration and I'm looking at my concept. I don't know if you can see, I made a V here. I don't want a V there. I wanted it more curved. So I need to repair it. That happens a lot when you're illustrating. You might not realize that you had a little angle on it. And the same goes for this curve. I'm gonna come in here and get it more curved. Okay, and I'm gonna make sure that width is the same as this width, so they look identical. Okay, so far so good. I like to put a destination point and connect it. I used a slight curve. And I used a slight curve here. Okay. This has a slight curve. If you don't have French curves yet, you're going to have to do it by hand or a ruler. Okay. You can also make a French curve. You could actually take one of these and put it on heavier paper and get the shape and then cut it out and then use that as a French curve. I'm pretty sure in the back of the pattern making book is actually a French curve pattern. But I could also scan these and put it on the internet, on the canvas. Okay, so there's my first. And so you're going to give it a style number. So let's see, it's spring. I'm going to just make up a style number. T for top, and it's going to be 101. That's my style number. Okay. So you will make up style numbers for your designs. Okay, that's my first one, and I'll set this aside and I'll create the next one.
I just wanted the female flat is on module 1, but you did scan it.
Oh, I did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's the female one, but it's on module 1.
Okay, well, I think I'll put it in more than one place so it's not so hard to find. Okay. Perfect. So on module 1. Okay, so now I'm going to do this ant, and it's a little wide. And this leg is a little not wide enough for me to get that wide leg. So I'm going to change this and put another leg on it. So a couple ways I could do it. I could come over here and trace it. So I'm just going to trace this leg. And I'm going to pivot it. I'm going to pivot it so it's a little bit wider. And I'm going to do that underneath so I can see it underneath and I can trace it. So I'm going to pivot it, but just a little bit wider. So all I did was trace it with tracing paper. And then I can put right through the center another dotted line. Okay, so now I've got a wider leg just so that I can create a wide leg pant. Usually my legs won't be that wide, but both of these have a little bit more width. That one might have worked with the straighter leg, we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here and start with my tracing paper. Let's see if I can recycle this paper here. tape it down. Yeah, I think I can pull this off. I don't know if that's going to confuse you, and I should just get a clean sheet, but I'm trying to conserve. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, what's the first thing I want to do? Does anybody know? Nobody knows? First thing I want to do is draw the access line.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of the HPS, I'm going to draw the waistline. Okay, so now I have the access line and the waistline. I'm going to tape it down so it doesn't slip and slide, which it tends to want to do. So I'm taping it down. Okay, so now I'm looking at my concept sketch. It's not right on the waist, it's a little bit lower. It's going to have a drawstring, so it has a little hole right there, and it's going to tie in a knot. Okay, so there is my crotch. I might make it a little lower so I have a little ease. I think I made this out of flannel. So it's short, it's not, it's short, it's not to the ankle. I'm going to move this up so you can see. We don't have Jewel here yet. She always reminds me. Okay, so I'm going to go up to about here. Is where I think it is. I want my width even on this side and the same on this side. So I'm trying to decide if I've got it wide enough. I can double check with my ruler if I made them the same width. I did. And then you can either use your ruler, or use your ruler, and it's going to start to flare. It looks like it was slim and it started to flare about the knees. So I'm going to, I want it real soft. Okay. Now I'm looking at my shape. Maybe I'll bring it down just a little bit. Seems like I always run out of pencil lead when I'm demoing. There we go. So I'm gonna straighten that just a little. Okay. So it slightly lifts on the sides. It's not completely straight. Okay, so now the front is lower than the back. The back always lifts up a little higher. I'm going to put 2 rows of top stitching to represent the casing. Might have some gathering. Might change on the silhouette just a little bit. And I'm going to show the reverse side of the fabric. Okay. Okay, so here's my flat. And I think I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to straighten it out. I just don't like the way it looks. Okay, so here's.
So if you have a pant and so if you have like a 2-piece, you create a flat for each piece. But if you have like a 1-piece, like a dress or a jumpsuit, you'll create 1 flat.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Okay, so now I go back to my presentation board. Here it is. And I'm going to put this pant so there's sufficient amount of room, because each one of these flats is going to be scanned and reduced and put on a pattern card, on a spec sheet card, in a line sheet, which is a tool to sell to buyers, where it has the prices and the fabric and a sketch. So these sketches are going to be used for multiple purposes. So I don't want them tucked into the shirt of something else. They all have to stand alone. so that they can be reproduced. So I matched up the axis line and the waistline, and I'm going to tape it down. Okay. And then I'm going to copy it. What did I forget to do? I forgot to add, oh, it's already drawn. I didn't forget it. Now this one. So all pants need a crotch. So I need to see that seam. And I make 2 lines to represent. Okay, and then I put the top stitching in. So there's a thing called a call out box. I don't remember if I did it last time I demonstrated this. But the call out box is an enlarged version of a detail that might be too small for the sample maker or the pattern maker to understand what you were doing. So in this case, that little keyhole where the drawstring comes out is pretty hard to see. So I might make that a call out box. So I will demonstrate what that means. Okay. And flip this over. Now this particular one, if I didn't have any detail on the back of that pant, I could get away with just using the front to create the back. But let's say I'm going to put a yoke on there. So I put a yoke on the back and maybe a pocket. Okay. Okay, so there's my back. I forgot the stitching. So the shape of my back changed, the direction of the shape, but that's fine. And then I'll just show a little bit of gather. So try to make those curved. And my pocket needs top stitching. Can't have a pocket without stitching to hold it down. Now my hem, I could put stitching on my hem, trying to make the stitches consistent and it clear how far from the edge that stitching is. So it would be on both sides. So judging from this drawing and this proportion, I'm going to guess that's about 1 inch from the hem. I'm just going to guess. Okay. So now I go back, I flip this over. Tape it down, line up the waistline and the access line. Tape it down. Gonna call this SPP 102. Okay, so now I gave my style number. So because this is gathered, I can get away with freehanding it. Trying to make my stitches all similar, and so I'm going to guess that spacing is about a 1/2 inch for that little drawstring. And then, because I need a call out box, I'm going to draw that drawstring in a little call out box bigger so the seamstress can figure out what I did there. You don't want your seamstress to be the designer. You want you to be the designer. So I'm going to show that keyhole, and it's going to be like a buttonhole. So I'm going to show that I'm also going to show it's about a 1/4 inch from the edge and the gathering. So I curve it, and then my tie. So there's no confusion. I can see what's happening. So this will be my call out box. And it's very clear what detail happened at that waist. So now I need to add 1 inch away the hem. So there'll be lots of different kinds of top stitching, 1 inch, 1/4 inch. And it's important that it reads clear so that you know how to do it when you make the pattern. Okay, so there's a good example. So I'd like you to try one in class today so that I can see your first flat. So use your template and just create, I think, just a basic top. Just a basic top using your mood board for inspiration, and I'll help you along the way. So once you get your tracing done, just let me know and I'll look at it. Okay? So you can start with something simple. So use your template and create just the first side, and then flip it over and make the back view. So once you get to this step, let me see it. Okay? Okay. Everybody understand what to do?
Yes.
Okay. Anything you want me to review? Okay.
On this red,
Yes?
can we review the 3/4 body and the men's body?
Not sure what you just said. Can you give me the 3/4 men's body?
Yeah, and the 3/4 body too, women's body too. I tried to find video clips for that, but I couldn't.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misunderstood. Do you want me to draw the 3/4 body, or you want me to scan the 3/4 body?
Draw.
Draw. Okay. Let me find it and I'll do that. Okay. Okay. So Haiwan, are you talking about this lesson? When we did the 3/4 body? Is that the one you're talking about? Haiwan?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What did you say?
Oh, yes. So today's assignments include the 3/4 body and then the men's 3/4 body, right? Men's body, right?
Right. So I think it was this one. So you
Yeah.
want me to demonstrate this?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was this one. So you can either make it an inch or an 1.25 or an 1 1/8. You decide how large you want the sketch. So first I'm going to decide there's more of the face on this side than that side. So I'm looking at that access line, which is pretty pale. I'm going to draw it so it's stronger so you can see it. Okay, so the neck comes here. So if you could actually see this sketch, you don't, I wasn't expecting you to draw a face on this one. I'm just doing it so you can see. Okay. So at the halfway, you would see the clavicle. So the center of the body is over here. It's a good 1/4 of a head away from the access line. And if I had a side seam, it would be about right there. So let's pretend I have buttons. I'm showing off the details of a garment. You want to move that neck just slightly. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. A little bit of shape right there.
I don't know why it psyched me off.
You what?
This is Charmaine. It psyched me off for some reason, so that's why it looked like I just came
Oh,
in.
you lost connection?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think maybe 'cause I tried to go on the computer.
Oh, hi, Chris. Good morning, Chris. Okay, Chris, we're doing a review of 3/4 body for Haiwan, and prior to that, I did flat. I started doing flats for the designs that we created last Friday. So I'll go back to that after I finish reviewing this 3/4 figure. So that's-
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so gonna go back to the knee is on the left side of the access line. And the other one is slightly behind it. And her hand actually came into the just so it's slightly. Okay, so now I go down. See if you can see. Gonna move it up slightly. Let's see, I have this in the way. Okay, so now I can see the ankle. The ankle 6, 7, 8, 9 is a little bit away from the access line. The 7 is the widest part of the calf, and then it comes back, meets that ankle. And this one comes down. Okay, so now I would do an overlay and concentrate on fluid line quality and getting a nuanced line. Thick and then thin and then thick and then thin and then thick and then thin. So this represents shadow and light. So where it's straight, it would be light, and where it curves, it would be thick. So I get this change and it creates depth and dimension. So shadow, curve, shadow. Shadow, light, shadow. So you can see the change. Light, shadow. So on this particular one, I think I'm going to lower her features just a little bit. You'll notice if you get the eyes too high, she will look older. So I'm lowering the eyes a little. It's one of the reasons I like.
Can you move it down a little?
Oh, sorry. That's why I like overlays, because I can see and make corrections. A lot of times I'll see the corrections when I go to do the overlay. Okay, so and this one went slightly behind. And that I'll shadow. The arm, I see the cylinder. And now the pant. I see the side seam. And I put some buttons on it. Now I'm going to go thicker and then thinner. So it just takes practice to get a nuanced line. But it's a slow transition, and practicing just helps you get better at it. Okay, and then I would shade it. So both sides of a curve get shadow more on one side than the other. Where my pencil is. I use the side of the blender. And I try to get more shadow under the knee, under the calf. So I have a highlight, mid-tone, and shadow. Light can't bend, so it can't get inside the arms. So I have more shadow there. Cheekbones are like a mountaintop, eyelids like a mountaintop, so they get highlights. The bend of the hair gets a highlight. Closer to the face gets a shadow. Try to get a mix of thick and thin lines. So it creates some depth. I try to get 3 values on my shoe. Okay, so there's a review of the 3/4 figure. This was from last week, and this is this week. Okay. And now I'll go find the 3/4 man. I have to find what lesson that was. But just a little review what Chris Smith, we made a template for the flat using the one that I put on Canvas. I'm trying to think where it went. I buried it under all this paper. Where did I bury it? So we're using the designs we had last week. I can't find it under all my papers. But we created the flat template because some people don't have printers. So one moment, I don't know where I put it. Oh, I know where I put it. Duh. Remember I said I was going to scan it? It was in the scanner. Okay. So a lot of students don't have a printer, so I demonstrated how to make it yourself. So both of these I will scan and put in today's lesson so that you can create your own. So we used the template. We used tracing paper. We took the very first easiest one, the little top, and I made the front, remembering to copy the access line and the HPS line. Made my design, had to make some design decisions. I decided that collar would just sew into the shoulder. It's a wide enough collar that you could put it over your head. I made it deeper than the armhole because it's made out of a woven fabric, so it needs that extra roominess. And then I folded this on top and I created the back view. Then once I had that done, I took a piece of bond paper and I made a grid lightly using my 2-inch ruler, both vertical and horizontal, so that I could make a layout that's not crooked. Eventually, when they're all illustrated, I will erase all this grid. But I lined up the access line and the HPS. I traced one side, and then I traced the other side. And then I folded that over and I made the back view, which I haven't added yet. Forgot to do that. I got to add the back view. So I could actually do that right now. And then I'll go back to doing the 3/4 man for Haiwan. Okay. Yeah, I forgot to do the back view. Minor detail. So I tape it down before I try to do it so it doesn't slip and slide. And then I either can line it up parallel or I could stagger it slightly. It's your choice. It usually depends on how much room you have. We're going to have a 5-piece collection. So I'm only going to get 2 flats on this page and probably 2 or 3 flats on the next page. So once it's lined up, I tape it down and then I trace it. So if you have French curves, it makes it easier. You have a little ruler, it makes it easier. But right now we're still in the process of a lockdown, so you can try and order online and have it delivered, but I didn't want you driving to a store and jeopardizing your safety. Okay, so here's my hem. So these French curves come in 3 different sizes. They come in a set. So usually scrambling to figure out which one's going to fit best. And eventually you figure it out and you get better at it. It just takes practice. You get better at it. Okay, so there's my one side of my back view. We're not going to ink it yet because most of the class doesn't have ink pens yet. Okay, so I'm going to take that down, line up the HPS, line up the access line, tape it down so it doesn't move around. If your hand is steady, you can draw it, but if it's not, you can use a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can make one out of folding paper. If you don't have a French curve, you can actually make one the same way. You can get some heavy pattern paper or lightweight cardboard and create a shape and then cut it out neatly, and you can use it as a ruler. Designers come up with solutions. You can actually make a homemade French curve. Pretty sure in the back of the pattern making book is a template for a French curve. And I will see if I can find one and put it on canvas. I'm pretty sure I can scrounge up a pattern and you can make your own French curve. Okay, so there's my back view. Important that I double check that this distance, so it's 1, 2, 3/8, and this distance, 1, 2, 3/8, are identical because she's going to be making a pattern from that. Okay, so it had raw edge. So I put a few little raw edge and any kind of top stitching that it might have. So I don't have any top stitching on this one on the top. So the same would go for the bottoms.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Say if your design has patterns and like you were doing like different patterns, would you make the shape of it and then draw the patterns in like later after?
Are you talking like a floral print or?
Yeah, like say if it was like a floral print or something. Would
No,
you
you
do-
wouldn't put any print on here because I don't want it to confuse the pattern maker.
Okay, so no prints go on.
No
Okay.
prints go on it. You'd give a fabric swatch.
Okay.
No prints would go on it. If you were engineering a print that had to go on a pattern piece, then I would probably do my flat first and then do another flat with the pattern on it so she could, this would be the purpose to make her pattern, and then the other one to determine how to engineer the print into the pattern. But
Oh,
that would be the only time I would do the print.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. I am going to tape this down so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to line up the waistline and the axis line. I'm going to tape it down. So this one had a yoke and a patch pocket. And I do a sideways S to indicate the tush. And one of the easiest mistakes to make is you have this access line that you're going to eventually erase your grid, but you always have a back seam on a pair of pants. And one of the crucial mistakes that gets made is the grid gets erased and so does this crotch seam. So you want to make sure you don't erase your crotch seam because that's important. So then I try to get my top stitching even and consistent, and a few curved lines to represent the gathering. Make sure my pocket's straight. I can make a little darker shadow right there to represent how you get into it. And then I want my top stitching neat and even. So, and on the bottom, we had a 1-inch hem. Okay, did I want top stitching on my yoke? No, not going to put top stitching on my yoke. But I did make that little pocket have an opening there. Okay, so I untape it. For this collection, our first one, I'm not going to have you erase the grid because I want to see that you did the grid, that you understood, and that you got it even. And then when we do the second collection, then I'll have you erase the grid. Okay, so this one I'm flipping over, taping it down. Wait, you can't see that. Move it up a little. Can you see that? Yeah. Tape it down. Line up the access line and the waistline. Okay. So on a pant, we have the waistline, not the HPS line. Okay. So now I get that silhouette. It's a little wrinkled because we have gathers that is making my silhouette edge. So a few curves. Yoke. The pocket. clean it up with a ruler. Trying to get it looking like it's 1 inch away. It's important that the seamstress can tell how far apart are these seams. Not seams, top stitching. So it will be on your pattern card, but you want your illustration to be clear. Okay, so now I can see, I think, I don't know, I think, did I have in my illustration, yeah, I think I had side seam pocket. So I'm just going to show it a little darker to represent a side seam pocket. And I could have a little top stitching if I wanted to spend the labor. Or a little, I wouldn't see it on the back, it's only on the front. Okay, so now I'm pretty good. So besides my flat, usually I would have you type and paste it up, but and so, yeah, I could do that and then paste it up in a square. So I could just put it like right here. So part of creating a presentation is making it look professional. So it would be uniform and it would be not crooked. So this one is about here. And it was about there. Just trying to get them the same size. So even if I typed this and pasted it up, it would be uniform and so I could do the same thing over here. Trying to get them the same width and the same size. And because this one had the call out box, it's a little bit less room, but I think I could pull it off. Okay, so the description of this would be typed, but I'm going to do it by hand this time. And you can do it by hand this time. When we do the next collection, you could type it. So this is like a top with a collar. Let's see, what do I want to call this collar? In fact, I don't think I want this collar to be, I'm making a design choice. I'm not going to have that same detail. It only does it on that one side. Okay, so it's going to be asymmetrical. Wrap over collar. And raglan sleeve. It's a raglan 3/4 sleeve. And it's raw edge hem. And that's enough. And so I really didn't need to do this. Well, there's nothing really different about the back. that I need to mention. So this one is a drawstring. Wide leg pant. With side seam pockets. And over here, I could say back yoke and patch pockets. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so from concept to flat. Now, this one's going to have a screen print on it. I could put that on there. So I'm going to write screen print front. So I'm going to actually put the screen print on there. I don't even know if the cheetahs are endangered. I was just being funny. I'm going to make claws. Okay. I'm going to make that in red. So it looks like blood. I'm being funny. Okay, so screen print front. So we're making a collection. We have 5 pieces. So you made your concepts, 5 concepts, using your mood board for inspiration. Okay, you're making a top, a pant, and I did a tunic coat. You can either do a coat or a dress. I don't know, I wrote this yesterday somewhere, or Friday. And then a jacket. And then the second piece can either be a tunic or a coat or a jacket or another top, one or the other. And then this one is another pant. But make sure that your 2 pants are significantly different, because when a buyer goes to buy a collection, she's not going to buy this one if you've got the same pant, only one minor detail different. She'll only buy one. So these are significantly different. So she might want both. Okay, so think about when you're merchandising that the buyer can't resist every piece. So this gives you an idea. 5 concepts. That makes sense so far? Okay. So I'm going to go look for my 3/4 man, and I'm going to review that. So I'll come right back. You should be working on your first concept into a flat, because I want to look at it in a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to find the 3/4 man. What did I do with him? So, Haiyan, I have a question.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to see a 3/4 figure, and then I think I misunderstood. You wanted a man, but what was it you wanted?
A man's body.
Oh, just the men's body? Okay. So, okay, gotta find that. Okay, so we're going to do a little review of the men's body for Haiyan. So here was the lesson. Okay, so going to use the access line. So this was the original sketch that I did using this for reference. And so I'm going to do another review. Okay, so I'm going to make these 1 inch. You can make them 1 1/4, 1 1/8, or 1 inch, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Okay, so the man's body has more of a rectangle shaped face instead of an oval, even though this one is an oval. His neck is as wide as his face. Angles down. So here's the 2, here's the 1. So his chin, the shoulders come out. And the width on the woman is 1.5 heads. But on the man, his shoulders are 2 heads. So here's 1 head, here's 2 heads. So I'm going to do 1 here and 1 here, so you can see. So his body shapes are more angular. Okay. So his body shape is a V, whereas the woman, it's an hourglass. So I'm coming down, this is 2, this is 3, trying to get that symmetrical. It's like a rectangle. He has no hips, very narrow. Oh, no, see how I favor the right side? I don't mean to do that. I always do it. So just try to keep them symmetrical. So this is the 4, and the crotch is about right here. So the arm goes past, the upper arm goes past the 3, and the elbow is about 3 1/4 where it starts to bend. So he has a little bit of muscle right there, and he has a little bit of muscle right there. So 3 is right here, 2 is right here, and then it starts to bend. You have a little bit of shape right there. A little bit of shape right there. Trying to get these symmetrical. So at the 5, here's my 5. Here's my 4. My thumb started to come. So his wrist is a little wider than the woman's.
Miss Rad,
Yeah,
could you accept my recording request, please?
sure. Is that Jewel?
Yeah, my alarm clock didn't go off. I'm really upset.
We missed you because,
I know there's a test.
no, I haven't done the test.
Oh, goody.
Okay, I'm looking for, you're asking me to let you record. Why is it not on there?
There's 2 of me.
Oh, there's 2 of you?
Yeah, there
Okay.
is.
Maybe that's why. Let's see. Okay, let me go to the other one. Yeah, okay. Now you can
Okay.
record.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Anyone else want to record? Okay.
What did you guys do?
Okay, after I finish this, I'll review again what we did.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
Ouch. You're okay. Okay, so now come down here, and this hand is a little bit smaller than the other one. And what that means is this hand is forward and this is pushed back a little bit. So don't know why, but that's the way it is in this picture. Okay, so now I've got 6 and 7. The knee comes down to about 6 1/2. So I can see it's turning a little. So here's my knee. So I'm going to connect. And I'm going to go to the other side, try to make them symmetrical. Okay, go down to 8. Try to make them symmetrical. And then I go down to 9. And I always put arrows, and I think I'm losing, I always put arrows on the bottom of the feet so I get the right direction. Ankle. His feet are wider. Give him a little bit more ankle. Okay, so we got that one going that way, that one going that way. And there's my man. Did I do anything wrong? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I didn't go long enough. That's why he looks so weird. I just did a flat that ended at 8. And then I'm doing it again on him. Okay, so it went longer. Can you all see? Okay, now he looks more like the other one. Can you see it all? Here's our man. Okay. Is that enough, Haiwan?
Oh yes, but the immense figure, the shoulder, the hip is smaller than the shoulder, right?
Right. And so that's creating a V shape where the woman, you can see that the woman was an hourglass, but the man is narrow here. Yes.
Okay.
That's the difference in their shape. Okay. So that was a little review. Now I'm going to go back and review what I did earlier this morning. Okay, so I took what we did on Friday. So this was quick, fast concept sketches from the mood board. So I have a top, a pant, a tunic coat, hoodie, and a short jacket and another pant that's a little shorter and has lots of detail. So that's my collection. So the next step, once I've created my concepts, is to create flats. So I had a flat that we're using, but not everybody has a printer. So I demonstrated how to draw it. So the spacing is an 1 1/8 inch, so it's equally spaced. This waist is 1 1/4 inch. This one is 1.5 inches. So I measured it out, and I really only did one side because I'm going to flip it over, so I don't really need all those other sides. And I changed the arm. I like it better out. I changed it. I made it come out. And then I pivoted the leg. I traced it. Then I put it underneath and I pivoted it and made it a little wider because I have a wide leg pant and I'm going to need more width. So I will make copies of all this and put it on the canvas. Okay, so then the first thing I did was I took a tracing. I used my homemade template and I matched up the HPS and the access line and I created that flat. So you could see my drawing. And I had a lot of design decisions to make. I didn't show all the lines on this collar because I wanted her to just see the pattern. And I decided it would just go into the scene. I made a raglan sleeve and a raw edge. I made the back higher than the front. And the diagonal lines or a gray marker represent the back side of the fabric. Then I folded it over and I created the back view. So you could see it matches the silhouette shape, but then it creates the back. So I had one front and one back. Then I made a grid I took my 2-inch ruler and I drew light lines to represent the grid, horizontal and vertical. And then I took my front and I traced it and put it here, flipped it over, traced it and put it here. Did my back, traced it and flipped it over and put it there. On this one, I gave it a screen print, so I put the screen print on it. If I had a floral print like I did with the cheetah, that was my abstract geometric print, I did not put it on my flat because my flats are to show the pattern maker how to make the garment. So I did put the screen print on because it doesn't take away from seeing the pattern. This typically would be typed, but for this assignment, it's all in pencil, so it's okay to write it by hand. But the next collection, we'll be typing that because by then we'll have some, hopefully some more ink.
And when you're writing it, you're just writing like the details, like each garment.
I'm describing the construction. So I wrote asymmetrical wrap over collar, raglan 3/4 sleeve, raw edge, hem, and a screen print front. Then I did the drawstring. I made a call out box to show that detail up close because it's hard to see. And probably now that I'm drawing this, I can see this would probably be edge stitched. I didn't think about that when I originally did this, but it would probably be edge stitched and I would see that. Yeah. So I have drawstring wide leg pant with side seam pocket. So I made it darker where the side seam pocket would come in. And I try to make this drawstring as long as I think it'll be, because that will help her make the pattern. And then in the back, I had a yoke and patch pockets with top stitching. And it's a 1-inch hem, so I make the top stitching look accurate. I can tell the difference that that's edge stitched. I can tell that's about a 1/4 inch away, and that's about 1 inch. I can tell by my top stitching. Does that make sense? So I didn't have any top stitching on this one, and I did on this one. I might rethink it and give it top stitching, but for now, I'm not. It's fine. But everything is lined up and professional and not crooked. This is a good start. So I have 5 pieces to go. So I got 2 on a page, a front and back, front and back. So I'm probably going to need 3 pages to do a 5-piece collection. I'm a guess. We don't know. We'll see as I draw more. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need 3 pages for 5. Definitely. Okay. So I did a little review for Haiwan. I did a 3/4 view figure and I did a man's front view. So I'm going to continue creating flats for this collection. So now I could either do the hoodie, the jacket, or the pant. So we've been doing this for 2 hours. I forgot to stretch at 8 o'clock. So just stretch your neck a little, turn it around, just move a little bit so you don't get stiff, or you'll end up going to the doctor and go, I've got this 4-hour class and I stiffened up my neck. I learned the hard way. I took Adobe Illustrator and would spend 5.5 hours doing homework, and then I couldn't move my neck.